Good evening. Just want to touch on a few things tonight. I want to get a little workout in. I started working today, and we're not working very many hours, but cuts out of the day. What you can do. Anyway, I guess everybody heard about the tape with President Donald Trump and the Secretary of State for Georgia. I want to quote him. This is what I heard as a quote. I just want to find 11,780 votes. Now, he's got to be the only president that's ever tried to pull this off. You don't have communications indicating you want something done as far as voting. The votes are already in. They've been counted 3 times in Georgia. Okay, there's some people who still believe there's massive fraud. Well, once again, all the courts said differently. Attorney General Barr, and that was Trump's man for quite a while, got out. He didn't want to go along with anything anymore. I think that's probably the reason why. President Trump overstepped his bounds. We'll see what happens. We don't want presidential candidates putting pressure on secretaries of state who are in charge of the vote count in the end. Shouldn't be talking to him at all. I just saw tonight where he's tried to communicate with him 18 times now, true or false, since November. Well, anyway, it's obvious to most people that President Donald Trump will be out of office on the 20th at 12 noon. A lot of people might be unhappy about that, but a little bit more will be happy. We're just going to have to go with a new president. If you got political suggestions, you send them to your congressman, your senator. Try to stay on top of it. You don't like the way the Democrats run things, then you're going to have to say something. Where President Trump appealed to a lot of people is less regulation. But when they start cutting out regulations, they'll probably cut out some good ones too, you see. Protective ones for us, for your kids, for our society, for our country, for the world. And you'd have to go over one by one. It's not just cut and dry just because we have too much regulation. That is true. But maybe we need to participate more to tell them what we like and what we don't like. And just don't let them do it all. Them as the legislators, right? We want to have an input. Great with jobs. Well, hey, no regulation, cut the taxes for businesses, companies. You're going to have good employment. And the unemployment numbers were being pretty good when President Obama left office. So it wasn't like he made some miracle. With his ideas of less government interference, of course, yeah, more jobs. Stock market went crazy. Now, I know when it went up that much with Hillary Clinton, it did go up. That helped out a lot of people get some money in the end. Some retirees and people that have a lot of money in the stock market made out pretty good. Anyway, his time is ended. He's put in 4 years. Whether you like him or not, he did put in some time to serve his country. Now, he may have been serving himself a lot, but hopefully it's a mutual thing. You do something because it not only helps you, but it helps the country, and there's nothing wrong with that unless you overstep your bounds. And he overstepped his bounds a number of times. It's time to go. And hopefully the election tomorrow in Georgia will the best people for Georgia win. That's all you can hope for. These presidential pardons. Now, I don't think the founders wanted to have a president give his fellow, I call them cronies, a pardon. Now, some of the individuals, because they got involved with Trump's campaign, were kind of unlucky like that. The heavy investigation, the Mueller investigation. Frankly, I think the Mueller investigation shouldn't have happened with the idea that Trump was involved with the Russians. To me, that's stupid. Trump with his own energy at the rallies, stolen emails, was able to promote himself with the media. The media put him there. The media gave him all the coverage in the world, right? That's how he got there. He didn't need the Russians' help. That's like nothing. And all it did was create ill will between the two parties. Here they are doing this heavy day in, day out investigation, constant 24-hour harassment. And Trump ended up doing some things in the Mueller report because of that weren't right. Well, you push somebody so far, you don't always get a good reaction. So they should have never done that. It was a waste of time, and maybe he'd had a few years then, and maybe been a better president for other people too, besides the people that elected him. And anyway, that's all gone, and hopefully it'll just kind of fade away. I got a few things I'd like to. I want to hit on presidential pardons again. The presidential pardon. If President Trump thinks he can pardon himself, and if he thinks that the founding fathers, I guess they're mostly male, right, were for a president pardoning himself, that is not something an honorable person would do. An honorable person will take their punishment, right? They don't try to run out. No. Even when they're hung, they're honorable. They're not cowards. They're not trying to look for a way out. There's no way that he can pardon himself and have the Supreme Court go along with it. Those people are thoughtful people, and I'm sure there's enough to look at in history that show that these people were great, moral, and honorable people, and that's something they'd never do. Now, does that mean you want to go out and put the president in jail afterwards? Not necessarily. But he needs to, and all the people following this. You set a bad example, what do you get? You get more bad examples later on. So that's the way it is. So he's not going to be able to pull that off 100%. All right. I'll get back to the protests this summer. I was on the river in Alaska. We got out on occasion. We saw that, there'd been a lot of protests, so I didn't know everything about it. I understand there was protests on, let's say, both sides, the left and right. But the people that were burning down places and robbing places, now you could say, hey, they were on the left. Well, you know what? There's all kinds of people in this country. There's good people, there's bad people. And yeah, they probably weren't Republicans, I've got to admit that. And they may have identified with the Democratic Party more, but they're like anarchists, criminals. And that kind of behavior does not do any good for anybody. The Democratic Party suffered for that. They lost votes. There's a lot of people that I've even talked to that, hey, the Democratic Party, well, that's not the Democratic Party. That's just the friends that want to take advantage of a situation where they could get away with it. And it's too bad that, the police didn't stop that right off the bat. Come up with some decent ways, not your, taking somebody down and, hurting them too much, but you can still stop them by certain ways. And also what this does, if it looks like there's one ethnic group, it just perpetuates prejudice and racism. That's all it does. How can you like that behavior? And we're humans. We're susceptible to our emotions. We see that and we go, well, these people, and that's what's going to happen. That's like all the riots in the past that people witnessed. The Watts riots. Well, it was mostly African Americans. They might have some reasons where they're all willing to do something, but you don't do that, see? That's kind of stuff you don't do. And I'm sorry, but that is what really helps perpetuate racism. And if you finally get it in your head that that's wrong behavior, this world would be a better place. You don't need to do that. It's not helping any cause. It's just something that people hold inside, and they'll hold that against you, reinforced time and time again. We all want to love our neighbor. We all want to not be a hateful person, but that's part of us. I don't know if you believe in the Bible or God, but we're supposed to be pretty good sinners. See, now whether you believe it or not, we do bad things. Humans do good things and do bad things. So please don't try to keep that up. And I hope that if whoever's listening to this, you take it as a kind of an educational deal. Well, I didn't realize I was adversely affecting that many people, and perpetuating racism and prejudice. That's what it does. Okay, the police. Now, definitely there needs to be more community policing. There needs to be more money invested in police protection with their vehicles, bulletproof windows, bulletproof vehicles, as far as you can go. You need to have better training. You need to have psychological training to weed out the ones that aren't going to respond properly in an emergency situation. They don't need to come in with guns blazing. It's a real sick deal what's been happening in our society. Now, we've got more information. We've got the TV, got the internet. Things happen pretty quick. But there's no reason for all the shootings that are happening, unarmed people. Maybe the police need a special barricade. They might need something besides bullets that they can rely on to be protected and not have to rely on bam, 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 bam. That's sick, very sick. And, I got to admit, there's probably close to 99% of the police or more that don't want to be hurting people like that. They help people all the time. When I grew up, the police were actually pretty friendly. The ones in the police cars, right? The ones in the police cars. Everybody used to drive around the cruise route, and drink. Only the police bothered you if you were not driving right. They were actually, I would say, pretty friendly. So anyway, they need to be helped out. The bad ones need to be weeded out, and we need to take the violence confrontations out of this. We can't handle it as a society, and all that does is promote bad feelings against the police. And remember, they're not all bad, but the ones that do things that should be exposed, don't try to hide it. They made a mistake. Maybe that's how they are. Maybe they only made one mistake in their life as a policeman. You got to take all that in consideration. But they did something wrong. They need to be punished and not get off what you call scot-free. That's got to change. For our society to advance, that's got to change. And I hope we can. Community policing. Grand jury reform. Well, the grand jury in most states, let's see, I don't have it down all together, but pretty much if the prosecutor goes before the grand jury, not 100% of the time, but basically almost that, you could consider that they're going to come back with an indictment. What does that mean? The people who testify, civilians, police, need to be grilled up and down by grand jurors. Just don't accept what they say and then have a few token questions. No, left and right. If something happened, you know what was to your right, you know what was to your left, you know how far away behind you, know how far in front of you, what the person was wearing, how many people were over there, what they said, how many seconds did that you saw that happen. There is all kinds of situations that actually we should come up, some good lawyers probably, come up with a book that in many circumstances, the grand jurors, because they may not have these questions on their tongue, can ask. And once this is done all over, the prosecutors are going to be asking some of these same questions to regular civilian people or police who testify before they bring an indictment, before they bring them up before the grand jury. Why? Because they don't want to look bad later on. They didn't ask these questions, and the jurors asked the questions, and now they're not bringing an indictment back. So they'll put out more time. What happens is the people that get indicted from the grand jury, now the prosecutor comes to you and your lawyer, and he says, well, look, maybe we can make a plea bargain. Most of the grand jury indictments and most of the charges like that, they don't go to court. They get stopped with a plea bargain. So what does that mean? You got all this powerful force of indictment coming on an individual, and threatening him with years in jail, fines, so they end up taking something lesser. And that's not right. See, that system is rigged, Trumpian expression, rigged that way. And you need all the protection as someone accused, as the victim would have. You know, everybody needs protection there. You want to only put the people who are really guilty behind bars. And you don't want to make it so hard on them that they just take a plea, because that happens all the time, all right? All the time. And that's got to change. We don't need to perpetuate that anymore. Some of the places have a different way, but the prosecutor's the one who decides that he or she wants to go to a grand jury. You have a preliminary hearing, and your lawyer gets involved. And I think that's a better way. That's a better way. You can ask these people questions. And another thing, because they don't go to trial after that, let's say if you have a policeman that's really lying, but there's not enough questions to bring it out whether he's lying or not. They just accept it. Well, it never goes to trial. He never gets put on the spot, he or she. So that's another thing that why people could get away with lying. And they have their own reasons. And certainly if there's some personal reasons involved and not just some witness, that's more reason to dwell deeper and into it. That's for sure. Prison reform. You know, it's unfortunate people go to prison. They've made some mistakes, get caught, and if they're guilty, they can go to jail. And if maybe they weren't guilty, they're still going to jail, right, or prison. In prison, you should get reformed. You should get education. You should get lots of variety of stuff. So when you come out, you got some skills, whatever it is, or the willingness to work, to put you back in a place in society again. And when somebody does get released from prison, got to be pretty tough. And try to get a job. You know, not everybody's hiring somebody just got out of prison. That needs to be taken care of. We need to have steps that when that person gets out, we know where they're going. You've been putting them in jail for a long time. They get a place to stay. The care doesn't just stop in prison. Give them a place to stay. You make sure they have things they need, and you try to get them a job. That's only going to help society out. We don't want people going back, repeat offenders, because they can't make it on the outside. No, that's sick. These people need extra help. Hey, I say, well, why? I'd like some help too. Well, if you're able to make it on your own, that's great, more power to you. But these people have a harder time. And we want a society that functions. We want a society when you walk out on the street at night, you feel safe. And you'll feel safer if people that have been in prison are reformed and doing well in society. We want to make this a better place, and we can't be stingy with our money. Whatever little money we have. Anyway, I think that's about it tonight, because I'm going to do some squats. I've been sitting down today a lot, so anyway, this we'll be getting some more, but this is it for the night. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.